Welcome to the 60 Plus podcast.
I'm Janet.
And I'm Joe. How are you, Janet?
Okay. So I'm good-ish. I know you don't want me to say good, so I said good-ish.
That's no better.
Well, yeah, so I got allergies.
It's happened to me. They're not bothering me this year for some reason, but I feel for you
Yeah,
because
bad this year.
it makes you tired and
Cranky.
cranky. I've noticed.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, it's okay.
Other than
that, yeah, good-ish.
What are we talking about today, Janet?
We have a guest speaker.
Okay.
That's my Oprah impression, by the way. Did you notice that?
I didn't.
We have a guest speaker.
Do I get a car?
Yeah, you get a car and you get a car.
There was some joke my kids used to tell all the time or something, and it ended with, you get a whale and you get a whale. And
A whale?
I don't know why.
Okay. Well,
we have a guest speaker.
we do.
All right. Do you want to talk about?
No, you can.
All right. Our guest speaker is John. John is, I would say John is generally knowledgeable about many things fitness related
Okay.
and health related.
Good.
And we've asked John to come on. He's not an expert in this regard, but he's knowledgeable about diet and nutrition.
Right.
So, John, welcome.
It's very nice to be on the podcast. I'm honored to be your guest, Janet and Joe. It's a pleasure. I very much enjoy listening to all your podcasts.
Well, we're happy you're here.
John is a regular listener. He sometimes comments and sends emails and whatnot.
Well, we love that.
So John, we want to talk about nutrition and diet as it relates to 60 plus. So kind of give us some background as to how you came to your nutrition philosophy.
Well, I think it's been a journey. It definitely has been a lifelong process. And I can reflect back to, even if I would look at my college days, which I think might be the most unhealthy lifestyle that I ever experienced in terms. And I think there were a lot of factors. You get out of your house and you're not in the same environment that you had more kind of regimented traditional meals, and you're independent, also on very, very limited budgets. So I look back on things that I used to eat in college, and I'm like, I don't know how I functioned. I don't know how my brain worked, because I look back and I felt there were so many deficiencies there. But I think that the human body is rather resilient.
I know how it happened, though. you were 20 years old.
Yeah. And again, 20, I think the body somehow manages to survive some of the abuse or some of the insufficient care that at least I gave at the time. Maybe some people were better at taking care of themselves nutritionally in college
or in high school. I can remember that I'd get up, I'd have a cup of coffee, I'd go to school, and for lunch I'd have chocolate milk and a yodel. And then I'd go and play sports all afternoon.
Eat a yodel, or you would stand on the quad and yodel.
No, I would eat yodels or Swiss Miss or something like that, or ho-hos or whatever they were called. It was a lot of chocolate. And then,
yeah, but you still, Jen, if I remember the podcast, you still like chocolate, but I think you have better quality chocolate now.
Yes, healthy chocolate.
Yeah.
All right. So sometime after college, John, you
Yeah, it was a process, and even in my early 20s, I think early to mid 20s, I was married, and I think my wife and I both were trying to eat healthy, but what we thought was healthy at that time, we certainly would cringe at now. So it's been an ongoing process of learning, adapting, and personal experience. You realize and you start to say, okay, if I eat certain types of foods, how does it make me feel, and how does it affect how my body functions? And so I find like it's a continuous process, and I'm still what I'd like to think I'm in the continuous improvement mode. Some of the things I think are kind of funny from an anecdotal point of view. One of the things I truly believe, and it's kind of a caption, it's like, you are what you eat. And if you eat junk food, or if you do all these bad things, you feel that way, you look that way, you perform that way. But when you really eat to kind of optimize the body's functionality and performance, you feel better, you function better, you look better. That's kind of like a mindset I guess I have regarding food.
Yeah.
Do you feel that you give up on taste and flavor and enjoyment of food as a result, or not?
Absolutely not. I don't believe, again, this is my personal opinion. I'm not certified or educated in terms of being a nutritionist, but I really think that people shouldn't abstain from anything. If people have cravings for, let's say, bagels, or if people like they might like cake, I really encourage, if anyone ever asks me, I say, enjoy those things that you crave, but just don't do it in excessive quantities and every day.
Right.
If you don't have 2 bagels with lots of cream cheese every day. Maybe on the weekend, have a bagel with cream cheese. I don't believe in compromising the quality and the enjoyment of, I guess, eating and drinking. But I just try to be much more conscious of
Right.
what works well for my body and stay away from the things that are not optimal for my body. And I think it's very individual.
I also think that healthy food can be very delicious too. So I don't think that you really have to give up flavor and taste and enjoyment for healthy.
I agree, Janet. I totally agree. And I think sometimes it's just people have to change, I guess, their taste buds or their palate may become accustomed to certain things. I, hate to use this as an example, but like if someone's eating Doritos all the time and they think they like Doritos, but it's really good, and they switch to something that's maybe more natural, more healthy, and tastes good, their taste buds or their palate may change to finding enjoyment out of the more healthy real food instead of the manufactured food.
Right. Right.
Since you brought it up, John, what's wrong with a bagel?
the only bad thing about a bagel,
What's
I
wrong
haven't-
with waffles?
I haven't
no,
had,
no, no, no.
I
Any
haven't
of
had a
those things,
bagel.
it's all quality. If you eat a bad bagel, that's just a waste of an eating experience. To me, it's like find the best bagel you can or the best waffle you can. Don't compromise on quality.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's nothing in. I haven't
Well,
had a
and-
bagel in
yeah.
probably a year and a half, but
Well, yeah, but when you do, you probably go to, a really good bagel shop
do.
and get a nicely made bagel that's fresh out of the basket. It's the processed foods that really kill you. I mean, there's,
I totally agree with that in terms of the processed food. A friend of mine who is kind of my mentor in a lot of these things in terms of health and nutrition, she repeatedly has a simple phrase that she says, eat real food, mostly plants, not too much. So it doesn't get much more simple than that.
Yeah.
But it basically, by that statement, it is a strong aversion to the processed food, or what I say is things, if it comes out of a factory, it's really not food.
Yeah.
yeah, it's a product.
Yeah.
A highly marketed product.
Funny you mentioned that, Janet, because I always think that is like, how many times do you see them advertising bananas on TV?
I do eat bananas. I put bananas in my smoothie, but bananas are loaded with sugar, aren't they, John?
Again, it really depends. There are some, and I think anything, this goes in terms of moderation. It's again, interesting you bring that up, because one of the books that I read a number of years ago, I think it was The Wellness Revolution, and they mentioned real food versus the processed food. So by nature, if someone eats a banana that has lots of good nutrients in it, and yes, it does have sugar, but it's kind of natural, you can eat a banana and you could be satisfied eating one banana. So your portion is not excessive. On the flip side of that, if you're eating the manufactured or the processed foods, those are intentionally manufactured with all sorts of chemicals to make people have this insatiable craving. It's like, who can open up a package of Oreos and eat one Oreo, or who can eat one potato chip, because those are all chemically altered to change how our body feels satiated. So again, going back to a banana, if you eat only one banana, I don't think the amount of sugar, it's not going to be a disadvantage for someone to have one banana, but everyone has to really know their own body, know their own medical condition, and adjust their nutrient intake accordingly.
Something I haven't mentioned in a while, to Janet's pleasure, I think.
Uh-oh.
Beginning about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I started losing some weight.
Again.
Here
Here
we
we go.
And I didn't know I lost a
No,
considerable.
it was great. You should mention a lot and you should be proud. 30 pounds is nothing to sneeze at.
I put 5 back on. I got to.
Okay, 25 pounds is nothing to sneeze at.
One of the things that people had told me in the past but I didn't quite believe, and I didn't really feel it, was having protein with every meal made you eat less. It satiated you for longer.
Mm-hmm.
And I've kind of come around to it. I actually believe it, and it works. I make sure I have a good amount of protein with every meal.
Right. When they also say we need more protein as we age, and especially if you're working out too.
It's interesting you both brought that up, and I agree, Janet, in terms of a person's activity level somewhat determines the protein requirements that the body needs. But also, Joe, in one of the other books I read, it might have been Dr. Peter Attia, Outlive. It's a book that's out,
I'm familiar
maybe
with it.
within the last couple of years. But I think he speaks of some of the current deficiencies. And, I think he pointed out that many people through the course of kind of the standard diet in our country, people are protein deficient. And protein, if I recall his comments in his book, I think he identified that as one of the most essential parts of our nutrient intake is protein because it has such a pronounced effect on a cellular level, mitochondria and all of that stuff. And when I was reading the book, I kind of stepped back and I looked at my daily intake and I was like, wow, I think I might be a little bit protein deficient, again, based on my very active lifestyle and just in general. So I recently have tweaked my daily food intake to make sure I'm getting sufficient amounts of protein. So yeah, both of you bring up a very
Yeah.
valid point that I feel strongly about.
Is there an easy way for somebody to kind of try and track whether they're getting enough protein or not, other than measuring gram for gram?
I really don't know. There's so many standards in terms of how much protein you should have in terms of your body weight. I think there's some sort of a ratio for grams per body weight. I really don't know what something is. I think that's something that someone can either speak to their nutritionist or their primary care doctor to get some guidance on that. What Joe said in terms of having protein regularly, not just, okay, I'm going to have it with dinner. I was like, no, have protein during the day. And also one of the things I think has been proven, a lot of people are aware, you have to spread out, or a person should spread out their protein intake throughout the day. Let's say someone's saying, okay, I should have, based on my body size, my activity, maybe I should have 60, 80 grams of protein. You can't process that in one consumption. You can't sit there at one meal and process that, because things that I've read in numerous sources indicate that your body has a limited capacity to process protein.
Mm-hmm.
And if you take it in too quickly, it just passes through your body without being properly absorbed.
Oh, okay.
So
I didn't know that.
I personally try to spread it out, like in the morning, whether I'm having oatmeal, I might put a scoop of, protein powder in there, or I might have, 2-3 hard boiled eggs. And at lunch, I'll have a protein. Dinner, I'll have a protein. So I try to spread it out. I have a renewed focus on making sure I'm getting enough protein intake.
Talking about eating throughout the day.
Yes.
Doing a little research before we talked today, I saw a couple of things that said that 3 meals a day isn't really the way people 60 plus should be eating. Not eating constantly, not reducing it, but you shouldn't be going more than a few hours without eating something.
Yeah.
What do you think, John?
Yeah, I would agree with that also. Like so many things, it has to do with moderation, portion control, etc. And if I get up really early, I might have my first food intake, I don't know, 6:30 in the morning. And then maybe 9 o'clock, I might have a different breakfast type of thing, but it's small portions and it's spread out. And I think also a lot depends on people's activity levels. If people are sedentary, I guess the volume of their intake should probably be less. The more active they are, the more, the more caloric and nutritional intake that they would need.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm definitely a fan of grazing, eating a lot through the day. I also am a proponent of, especially as I'm aging, because yes, I am in this 60 plus segment, eating heavy meals late in the day, I just don't feel good when I do that. So I try to kind of have my larger portion before 5 o'clock. And then later on, in the evening, if I eat, it's not as much mass or volume of food.
Right. Back to this protein intake and the amount of activity. If you're working out, say lifting weights and stuff, do you recommend a certain protein delivery? Like, I know there's a lot of protein shakes and a lot of protein shakes you can make. Do you do it before, during, after? What's your general feeling on that?
Interesting question. And one of the things I wanted to add to that question, many years ago when I was working out, someone like made a comment to me. They observed me, and the person indicated that he was a doctor. And he says, "Is that a protein shake you're drinking?" And I said, and this was while I was working out. And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Doesn't that make your stomach, you don't feel well?" You're like, and I said, "Yeah, my stomach feels really heavy." And he said, "Well, have protein before or especially after your workout, like immediately after workout, not during your workout." So I decades ago changed that, and I feel much better. So I try to get what I would call natural protein all the time, whether it's eggs or chicken or fish or meat or anything like that, in normal meals. But after intense workouts, sometimes I'll make a protein shake. If I'm throwing like some greens and stuff in a blender to make a green drink, I'll add protein. This morning, I just threw it in a little blender bottle because I, needed something quick. So I had a protein mix. But there's so many different varieties of protein. People should research and find out. Try to get the cleanest protein they can.
Yeah.
Some people try plant-based proteins. For some people it doesn't settle well. So again, it's one of those things I think it's a very individualized. Everyone's bodies kind of respond differently. I try to get most of my protein intake from real food.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, one of the things that we know back some time ago, I think around the new year, we had Megan on talking about working out and exercise at 60 plus and building muscle mass. And John and I know each other, and John's in great shape. He's really in great physical shape.
Thank you, Joe.
You work at it. You work very hard
Yes.
at it.
Thank you.
The loss of muscle mass, it's kind of swimming against the tide in some respects. Would you agree?
Yeah, that's definitely a reality of the aging process. And I think there's things that we could do to manage it as best as possible. The very healthy, active lifestyle helps, a range of activities, for bone density as well as muscle mass, which I think are both things that seem to diminish as we get older. So much research that I've done indicates that resistance training, strength training, whether body weight or using, dumbbells or Olympic weights or machines. I think that's really essential to building and maintaining muscle mass. Otherwise, things tend to atrophy.
Mhm.
And I think as you're working that, then it comes back to our main topic in terms of nutrition, and you have to provide things on a cellular level that they need. Just if you're lifting weights, but you're not having any proper intake of nutrition to help the cells and help the muscles, they won't respond to the exercise. So if people are putting the effort in lifting, but they're not nourishing their bodies, it's somewhat of a wasted effort.
Okay.
And largely, protein helps in that regard.
I do believe that. And again, I would suggest people to do a lot of research, and it's a combination of things. I think there's so many different nutrients that our body needs, the minerals, electrolytes. Hydration again is like such a vital part.
I was going to get to this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not just
I-
protein alone. Yeah.
No, not at all.
John's laughing about hydration because he is a fanatic about hydration.
I love
He's
hydration.
an absolute fanatic about it. Talk about why you're such a fanatic about hydration, John.
Well, I think it's one of those things, and it even goes to lifestyle, it goes to nutrition, it goes to activity. I just feel better. My body feels and functions better when it's properly hydrated. And I think early on in my life, I would just do certain things because I felt good or I felt better doing it. And later on in life, then I would read things and find research that validated how my body was basically speaking to me.
Mhm.
But water is one of those things that similar to muscle mass and bone density, as we age, a lot of people kind of, I guess their hydration, it diminishes. People may forget to drink, or maybe they're not as active. So they're like, "Oh, I'm not going to drink. I only drink when I exercise if I'm not." But I've known a number of people in our age group who've had pretty serious health issues, and they go to the hospital and they all, the doctor's like, "You're dehydrated."
Oh, wow.
And this is people I know in their 50s, 60s, 70s, even older people. Older people have a number of reasons. Some say they don't want to drink because they have, whether bladder control issues or things like that. And they say, well, I don't want to drink water because now I'm going to have to go to the bathroom more
Right.
often. Well,
Right.
if you don't drink water, your body is going to break down in so many other ways. So again, hydration, vital part of, it sounds simple, but it's a vital part of our nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
He really is a fanatic about hydration. It's
Well, I'm all for hydration. I'm pro hydration.
I am too, but I'm one of those people that I forget to. I forget to hydrate.
Oh, yeah, not me. I
Um,
just get thirsty. I have to hydrate.
I
you
read
know?
something quite a while ago that a lot of people are so dehydrated they don't even recognize that they're dehydrated. They think they're hungry. They don't recognize that they're thirsty.
Yes, yeah, that's right. They say if you feel like you're getting hungry, try drinking a glass of water first.
If you feel thirsty, it's almost too late.
Right.
Whether you're out hiking or if you're working out or playing tennis or pickleball, and if you're like, oh my God, my mouth feels parched, I just feel thirsty, then it's like, oh, you've kind of like, you're at the critical stage right there.
Right,
It's almost too late. And it's like if you're fat, it's like hangry. If you're too hungry that you can't function properly and your mood is affected and your brain function because you're too hungry, waiting too long to eat and waiting too long to hydrate, definitely has a downside.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So talking about all the healthy food, what's a good splurge? What's something that's like a special treat for you, John, that you would eat but not feel guilty about?
Really good question, Joe. Let's see. Pancakes.
Pancakes, a good fruit bowl,
What's that?
fresh fruit bowl.
And that to me, that's not really a splurge. Like I really enjoy fruit, and that's one of the things that my wife and I have in the house, pretty regularly. Right now I have a bowl in the fridge with freshly cut up pineapples and blueberries in there. So bananas, are constantly readily available.
You can have one, I've heard, John. You can have one
Yes.
banana.
Yeah, it's not insatiable.
I actually have half a banana.
You know what happens if I have half a banana?
Yeah.
The other half just looks so sad and
No, it's
gross.
fine. It's fine in the refrigerator.
A lot of people do that. I still, even if it's a big banana, I'll eat the whole thing. My wife tends to have better portion control. So if we have a large length bananas in the basket, she'll cut it in half, and I'll do her a favor and eat the
Oh, you're sweet.
unused portion.
So you have 1.5 bananas that day? You're breaking
could.
your own rule.
Yeah, but it's really funny as you ask what a splurge is. I don't know if I have like one thing that I really crave. I do really like ice cream, but I do find it's one of those foods that maybe has some inflammatory response to me, so I kind of choose to stay away from it. But if I had an indulgence, ice cream to me had for a while been my little guilty pleasure. I don't even buy it anymore because I'm like, I feel kind of I don't feel right after.
Right. And I think that's a really good point too, is I think part of the art of this is to listen to your body, to like really reflect on, okay, when I eat this, I feel great. When I eat this, I don't feel good. And you just, then have the wherewithal to stay away from those foods. But it's listening to your body. Not everybody listens to their body.
Janet, that is such an exceptional point. And that's one of the things I wrote down some notes before we jumped on the call, was the most important thing, because everyone's different. Everyone's bodies respond differently. If I have one bit of advice, it's like people should listen to their body. And when you look at, when you're eating something, ask yourself, whatever I'm going to put into my mouth, what will this do for me? Like, what is the benefit of eating this? Is it just a pleasure, or are you trying to get, some nutrition out of it? And secondly is, once you do eat it, how does it make you feel? And sometimes people enjoy the taste of fried food, but it just makes them feel horrible afterwards. So the simple answer is stop eating fried food if your body doesn't respond well to it.
Right.
So you're right, Janet. Everyone should listen to their own bodies.
All right. I think that's a good point to wrap up on. Listen to your body, hydrate.
Good to your body.
Make sure you're good to your body, and it's okay to splurge once in a while, right?
Yeah. Your
I
body
totally
is a
agree.
temple. Remember, your body is a temple at every age.
John, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts about nutrition and diet and how it can affect us all and how we should approach it. So very good thoughts and helpful stuff.
We really appreciate you being here today with us. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed chatting with both of you.
All right. That's it for this week's episode of the 60 Plus Podcast. I'm Joe.
I'm Janet. Bye.